Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the dark continent narrative, right?
Mhm.
Where did it come from, and why is it there?
I was surprised whenever I go to India. You come from Africa and how come you're not dark? The Indians are telling me, people in Africa, the notion is that people in Africa, the Africa continent is so hot, that's why you Africans are dark. And I tell them that the temperature in Nairobi is on average between 20 and 30.
Exactly.
Oh, that's AC temperature.
Exactly.
In India.
Yeah.
And then why are you not? And why are the black people dark? Is the next question.
Yeah.
They believe that because the sun intensity, because we are at the equator, the sun's intensity is so high, that's you've turned dark. They don't connect it to genetics.
Exactly.
And even in Africa, there are lots of shades.
Yeah.
So in India, the southern Indians look like Africans.
Exactly. Yeah.
The northern Indians look like Europeans. But this dark continent notion is a derogative term that the colonials used to belittle us, to turn us into slaves, to turn us into servants. And it was by design. They used this divide and rule, and we see in the consequences in Rwanda. The genocide was a direct result of this divide and rule policy that the Belgians used in measuring people's noses and their head and face and scalp and all that.
Yeah.
That resentment that was, seeded, that resulted in that genocide where, million or 2 million, how many people died. And I'm seeing this. I came across 150 to 160 businessmen this week, and all of them very young. Very few people, old people in Rwanda. And it's because the old generation was killed off.
Was decimated.
And a lot of youngsters don't have, anchor, family members. They don't have a father, they don't have a mother.
Yeah.
A lot of orphans.
Situations like that. Yeah.
They don't have any, family role models to emulate to.
Father figures.
And that is, it's breeding insecurity in this young Gen Zs. Where they are, insecure about, where the next meal is going to come. They're insecure about, I need to have a job. They don't even, every time I come across a businessman, they're saying that they're short of cash. I'm saying you're not short of cash. You're short of clients, well-paying, profitable clients.
Exactly.
If you had, there was a lady I spoke to yesterday. She used to be she runs a boutique shop. I said, your problem is not cash. If I gave you, forward, orders that gave you, money in advance of 1,000 dresses, will that solve your money issue?
Money issue, exactly.
And she says no.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Also, Steve, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think the word dark, the continent of darkness, it was all institutionalized, legalized, and accepted by the whole world. When I grew up, I was told Niger is the poorest country in the world. But now we realize Niger has a lot of resources, and people didn't know that Niger is actually the country that brightens up France. Do you know that electricity from France comes from Niger?
Yeah, from the nuclear uranium that is extracted in Niger.
And guess what? The backstory is that Niger doesn't take advantage of that electricity.
Yeah.
It's dark. That's why I used to call it dark, poor. And I also realized it's the same scenario for so many countries. Togo, for example, is also rich in mineral resources. But when you look at the official documents, the narrative is that it's poor. So I don't believe in that anymore. What I think is that I show speed, to come back to that young man, he has really shown a huge potential in Africa. Let's take, for example, on his trips. Do you know he was eating food? Now, look at the different types of dishes that he was eating. It shows how multicolored the African cuisine is. It's a huge potential.
Very diverse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, now look at the landscapes where he visited. When you go to South Africa, for example, the landscape was amazing. There are places that I've not even seen in documentaries. When he came to Rwanda, there are some parts of Rwanda or the Rwandan culture that I never knew about until he came up.
Yeah.
So now, my conclusion about I Show Speed is that, coming back to the content creation, is that now people are starting to change the mindset, and there is a huge shift on the perception of Africa as a so-called dark continent. Look, what do you mean by dark continent when people buy houses worth 1 million, 2 million, 5 million US dollars? They don't run at their houses that cost a lot like that. Just like in California. When you go to South Africa, there's a guy, he has a YouTube channel, it's called Ines Yilmazer. And then they showed a house in South Africa that was worth like $50 million. And you can't believe it, that this is Africa. It was right on the, how do you call it, Port Elizabeth. And you could see the ocean. It was amazing. You couldn't say this is the Africa that I know. So we need to start that thinking. That's what I think. We need to focus on what we have, the potential that we have, and we need to realize that Africa actually fuels the rest of the world in so many ways. I'm from Gabon, and Gabon is the largest, or used to be the largest exporter of logs. There's a specific tree that is called okume. That tree has multiple usages. We can use it as a candle. You can use the bark as a plywood. You can use the log as furniture. And even in France, when you look at France, most of the wooden infrastructures come from Gabon. So it was until the former President Ali Bongo started to lock that export that he was vilified. He was considered as the demon and stuff like that.
It's happening to this guy who, this new young general who took over the country.
Who took over the country,
decided
to change.
What's his name?
Oligingema.
He's being vilified by the French.
Exactly.
And because the French economy dependent on the resources that they were extracting from the colonial past.
Even, manganese, we are the biggest exporter. I was born in the city of manganese. But when you see how people live in that city, it's appalling. It's like there was a war. So I think it is time for even our government to realize that we need to take ownership of our resources, to change the narratives, and to create content, to be storytellers. To change the narrative, to remove that dark to light, the continent of light. That's what I can say, Kevin.